Leadhead. We are back with another episode of the Talking Lead Podcast, your one-stop shop for everything guns, gear, training, and a lot of things that aren't that. So, appreciate you guys tuning in. If you didn't get an opportunity, make sure you go back to last episode. It was our third episode of the AK Corner. Which one was it, Jerry? You're muted. Was it the second episode?
Just like you told me to. I think it was 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I'm going to have to look now. It was. No, it was episode 2. It was episode 2 of season 3. We had the guys from Ackless Defense on. We had Joe Moe and Charlie Watson. And we talked a little bit about everything. We talked about their new Sabre 360 can that they've got coming out. It's a titanium 36 caliber bore. It's got the Delta baffle style design and a few other things we talked about. So make sure you go back, check that episode out. You're not going to want to miss it. And, of course, as always, we had some rewards for our listeners. Did any of you guys win anything that episode? I can't remember. Somebody at the class had won, I think, something there. Was it you, Jason?
It was probably Joe. He wins everything.
Joe. He did this weekend. We're going to talk about that. So as we've been building up to the last few months, it was successful. We did it. We had the Talking Lead and 212 training group and Occam Defense Solutions AK Concepts course here in Nashville, and it was a doozy. We had a blast. The weather allowed us to go ahead and have that, and it was a good time. So joining me now is Jared Seagraves with 212 Training Group. Jared, welcome in.
What's up, guys? Glad to be here again. Thanks for having us, Marty.
So this is a couple of days after the course. Everybody's had a little bit of time for everything to soak in and simmer a little bit. So we thought we'd put together a show with the trainers and the students and just go over any lingering questions or comments, or just kind of do a little review and see what everybody thought. So we've got several of the students that are joining us. You heard from a couple of them right there. We'll introduce the other ones a little bit later, but also joining us, we have the instructors that were there with Jared. So Jared, if you would introduce the posse.
Yeah, if you weren't there, you missed meeting 2 incredible human beings, and they're joining us this evening from McKinney, Texas. We've got Aaron Keener. Aaron and I have been working together for a number of years, and he's a phenomenal person, loves people, loves sharing knowledge, and he can also shoot pretty damn well too. And then we got Mr. Kyle Moore from way out in Arizona. Nobody is really sure where Kyle lives.
BFE.
And we went to Chick-fil-A the other day, and he didn't know what he wanted to order because he had never eaten at Chick-fil-A. But Kyle Moore...
it's overrated.
Kyle and I first met at Red October 19, and I just realized very quickly that was the guy to chase, and I just sat back and watched him do his thing, and it was very impressive. So I wanted him to come out and share some of that knowledge on how to run the AK, and he did just that. So very happy to have those guys.
They both did. They were both very impressive, and appreciated you bringing them out, and enjoyed meeting you guys. So thanks for joining us here on the AK Concepts follow-up.
They're both muted.
Yeah, happy to be here, guys. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So we're gonna like I said, a little bit later in the show, we're going to get the Q&A session with them, with the students. They're going to ask the students some questions. Students are going to ask them some questions, and just kind of spitball some things. But we'd done an interview during the course, and we went over basically what the course was about, why we were there, and that was with Kyle and Aaron and Jared. And was anybody else joining us there?
No, that was just the 3 of us initially.
Yeah, we had a couple of students join.
Yeah, we had a couple of students that were giving us their thoughts at the time too. So that's kind of why I wanted to do it too. Is the questions and the comments that they were making before the class was over and just see how they may have changed or evolved here a couple of days after, as well as things have had time to sink in. So that's going to be, I think it's going to be an interesting perspective to hear. But if you guys are cool with it, we'll go ahead and cut that interview in. And then also maybe joining us, Brian Keeney with Occam Defense Solutions. He was there. He did an armorer's portion to the class. And we did an interview with him while we were there as well. So we'll run through those two interviews, and then at the end of that, we're going to come back and we'll pick back up with the instructors and the students. So let's cut into that now. All right, so as you lead heads know, I broke this up into two separate episodes, and the episode prior to this has those interviews that I was just talking about. So make sure you go back to episode 385, and you're going to get all that information, and then that's going to tie in with the rest of the show. So go back, check out 385 if you haven't done so yet. And then also, I'll take this opportunity, go and show our sponsors some love and support. Kel-Tec Weapons, keltecweapons.com. Hit them up on Instagram, hit them up on Facebook, and let them know you're part of the Leadhead Brigade. If you are using their products, if you've got their guns, you've got their Sub 2000, their KSGs, their PMR 30, whatever it may be, the new P50, the 5.7 chambered handgun that they've got out. We did an episode on that just a while back with Chad, talking about that awesome kind of retro-looking 5.7 chambered pistol. If you've got their products, make posts on social media. If you have social media, tag Talking Lead, tag our sponsors. Use these discount codes that we give you guys. That's the best way to show these sponsors that you guys are hearing about them, getting the message, using their products, and post those. Seal 1, we've got the awesome code, get 25% off right now with Seal 1. It's a clean, lube, protect, all-in-one product, so you're not having to use several different products to clean your firearms. They are non-toxic, eco-friendly based products, so for your marine, your tactical, your archery, your shooting needs, Seal 1 can take care of that. I've even put some on my car, use it as a little car polish, and it's working good so far. So Seal 1, check them out. Use the code LEADHEAD, get 25% off any of their products. What's great about them also is that they come in several different delivery methods. So they've got like a paste, they've got an aerosol, they've got wipes. So whatever your preferred method of cleaning your firearms, you're not going to be disappointed. They've got it there at Seal 1. Use the code LEADHEAD, get 25% off. And then Mission First Tactical, they're doing so much over there at Mission First Tactical. They've got the holsters. They've got the AR-15 furniture with the hand guards, the butt stocks, the muzzle devices, the magazines. They've got 30-round AR-15 magazines. They just came out with the AR-10, the polymer magazines there for the AR-10, the 308 rounds. And you can use code LEADHEAD at Mission First Tactical, and you're going to get 20% off. And, of course, that is where you can get the official Talking Lead dump trays and tactical wallets with our logos on there. We had some nice ones made up for this AK Concepts class that is kind of an exclusive that we did just for our students and instructors there. But that's the cool thing about them is they can, if you've got a custom logo or something that you want to put on your magazines, you want to put on those dump trays, those wallets, your holster, whatever it may be, they can do that there. They've got this injection molded system that puts the ink in with the material, so it's not like an overlay that's going to rub off after a while. It's in there, and it's in there for the life of your product. So go to Mission First Tactical. Let them know you're part of the Leadhead Brigade on Instagram, on Facebook, and as you get those products in, again, tag us, tag our sponsors. It means a lot to our sponsors, and of course it means a lot to this show, keeping it coming to you Leadheads each and every week, bringing the leaducation.
Founded in 2012, IWIUS is the USA-based subsidiary of Israel Weapon Industries Limited of Ramat Hasharon, Israel. The IWIUS line of products includes the Tavor X95, the Uzi Pro pistol and SMG, the Galil Ace line of firearms, and the belt-fed Negev line of light machine guns. IWI's mission is to bring the highest quality firearms with real world-proven reliability to the U.S. commercial and law enforcement market. IWI-US are proud sponsors of the Talking Lead AK Corner and the Leadhead Brigade. Check us out at www.iwi.us and on social media under IWI-US.
So we're back. You guys had an opportunity to see what the course was all about there, get a little feedback from some of the students during the training course there. And then we had Brian come in, and we had a special guest, James Yeager, was there. He was there pretty much the whole time. And he dropped in and graced us with his presence on the podcast there. So I hope you guys enjoyed that too. So what I want to do is now we're going to introduce the students that are here with us. And I don't think any of them that were in that first interview made it tonight.
Yeah, Joe.
Joe did. He was.
Oh, Jerry also. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Joe and Jerry both.
Joe and Jerry both. Okay, good deal. So joining us, we've got Leadhead Joe. We've got Leadhead Jerry Black, Leadhead Jason Farmer, also known as John Adams III, for whatever reason. And maybe somebody else will join us later. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll add them in if they do. And then, of course, we got Jared, the trainers. We got Jared, Aaron, and Kyle. So, Jared, I'm going to kind of let you lead this because you were, the head instructor there. Just real briefly, just kind of remind them, go over the course outline, and then we'll see what kind of questions or comments they've got that we did day one, day two.
Yeah, day one was really about everyone kind of building a baseline, not only for themselves but for the weapons platform. And we were limited at the indoor range. Royal Range was a phenomenal location. It was incredible. The people were even better. So we had a great place to work, but we were limited by that indoor bay to, I think, 18 yards. So one would think in a rifle class that might limit what you can do with a rifle, but there's always ways to adapt and challenge yourself, and that's what we were able to do. So day one was really about establishing baselines for the shooters and their performance as far as manipulating and just running the gun. So we basically went over some zero process. We got everybody dialed in, and then we did a quick little kind of combat effectiveness test, running some up drills back to about 18 yards, put them on a par time. Then we broke off into a little breakout session. So half the class went with Brian, half the class stayed on the range. I was jealous. I didn't get to go in and get a piece of Brian's brain as far as the weapon system goes. On the range, we went over just manipulations. We went over speed loads. We went over proactive loads, or TAC reloads, as some people call them. And then we basically switched groups. Then after that, we had our lunch break on day one. Then we came back and did just some more up drill manipulations, working the gun, running the triggers a little faster. We did some rhythm and cadence work. And then we finished out the day with a little competition, basically doing speed loads, basically up drill to one shot. Then you get the click indicating the gun is empty, and speed load the gun and one follow-up shot. Put that on a par timer, and Joe just hammered everybody. I mean, it was smooth and awesome, and it was great.
Joe's
to watch
a little
that.
sudden, isn't he?
Yeah. Joe just kind of took everybody to the cleaners, and not only day one, but it was a lot of fun to watch, and everybody was just cheering him on, and that's the great thing about these environments is they're all collaborative. Everybody gets along. Whoever is kicking everybody else's butts, everybody's cheering them on and loving it. So that was day one. Day 2 was more about we added just basic movement in. So we had a little warm up, did a little par time. Day 2, we confirmed everybody's 0, and then we put everybody on a 10-second par, pushed everybody as far back as we could on the range.
Now, what's a par?
Okay, par time being basically just a reference time or a goal, but in this case we used it more of a reference time. So in this particular exercise on Sunday morning, we had a 1-inch square on the targets, and the goal was as far back as we could work, which was right at 18 or 19 yards. We put a par time of 10 seconds on the shot timer. So the drill was initiated with 1 beep, 10 seconds later, second beep, that's your par time. And the goal was to go from standing to a prone position and deliver 5 rounds into that 1-inch square at 18 or 19 yards. And the goal wasn't to aim at that 1-inch square. The goal was to put those 5 rounds in that 1-inch square, and we did have an offset to factor in there. So overall, that was we were blown away at how successful everybody was, and that's a little tough to do on a concrete floor because building a prone position, getting a good solid mount on the gun, and keeping that gun from moving is a little tough. That thing wants to kind of slide around. So anyway, that was our warm up for day 2. Then again, we had the breakout sessions. One group went in and worked with Brian. I believe you guys did the fire control group in that setting, and I'm not sure what else you did. Before we even went to the range, we had a very, very interesting discussion on the relationship and the impact of both the shooter and the gun on accuracy and the factors that determine our accuracy with a given platform. And that was a really interesting discussion. So then we went to the range and did that warm up. Then we did the breakout session. The classroom was all about the fire control group. On the range, we worked basic movement, up drills, incorporating movement offline, forward, backward, right, left. And then we did some shooting while moving, which was interesting. Then we swapped out groups. We had our lunch break. We came back. We worked a little bit of handgun draw work prior to doing primary to secondary transitions, transitioning from the rifle to the handgun. We wanted to get an idea, a good baseline of how everybody performed on the handgun draw, just from a safety aspect. And once again, out of 15 people there, it was awesome. They rocked it. Everybody was rock solid on their draw. Then we actually did some reps of primary to secondary transitions. Then after that, we moved right into a short discussion of target transitions, lateral transitions. We wanted to go a little bit more in depth into eyes and how our eyes can track targets. But then we did a drill called quick, careful, precise, where we did 2 to the head or 2 to the body quickly, 2 to the head carefully, and 2 to the 1-inch dot, the evil little 1-inch dots on the targets. And you had to factor in your offset. So, man, who won that drill also? It was Joe.
Joe. Hands down.
So then we said,
Joe.
Hands down.
Joe, you sandbagging son of a bitch.
So then to round out the day, we set up a 2-2-4-2-2 drill. A lot of you guys have seen that. Hit the world, the training world with Haley Strategic Partners and Travis Haley, and he does it blazingly fast. But so we set everybody up for that, went through a little warm up, a build up, and then we did that competition. And once again,
Joe.
It was Joe.
It was close, though.
I think you
We had
rigged the
some
elections.
competition on that one.
It was close. It was close. Dan was a pretty damn close second. And I think maybe Aaron was third, and we were fourth and fifth or something. But anyway, so that's just crash course. I tried to make that as short as possible.
And just listening, I mean, you just went through the 2-day course. It sounds like it would have been a week-long course with everything you just, were talking about and covering.
Well,
you crammed a lot of information in the 2 days, and then of course adding the armorer's course on there on top of it really, made it a full 2 days, full weekend course. We could have done 3. I think a lot of students said, hey, this needs to be like a 3-day course. But looking back at all that, and this is the first indoor range that you've done your training in. What would you do differently using the indoor course again? What are some things that you would improve upon?
Aaron, what are some of your thoughts?
So for the indoor, obviously, being constrained to 18 yards, I think we really maximized out of those 2 days. I think if we were to add maybe a third day, a lot of use of maybe cover and concealment. We definitely did the moving and shooting and just some basic movement drills on day 2, which I think was great. But just expanding upon that, given the limited distance, we really like to run these AKs out to 200 and 300 yards if we can. But without that, there's still a ton we can do cover and concealment wise, and just expand on that movement stuff. I think that's really probably the biggest piece. In terms of changing what we did, I think it's we touched on quite a bit of the manual of arms and some of the unique qualities of the AK with speed reloads and tack reloads. I think we really tried to maximize everything we could. I think the armorer's course was really kind of an experiment for us, having some breakout groups, but I think that allowed us to really maximize the use of the range that we had. So I think all in all, I liked how we ran the 2 days that we had. And if we could expand a little bit more to maybe some cover and concealment work, I think that'd probably be the next step.
What about you, Kyle?
Well, if we were to do it again, I think that we could have taken advantage of the indoor aspect, and that we could have practiced flashlight tactics without waiting for the sun to set. Now, obviously, that would be a lot more applicable in a 3-day course, but that would have been to our advantage. I think the armorers portion, had we done that at the very beginning and had the entire class and ourselves participate, that would have been great. And really, I say that for selfish reasons. I would have liked to have sat in and heard what Brian Keeney had to say, but that way we could have familiarized the entire class with their platform before we ever stepped foot out on the range. But really, the Royal Range was an outstanding facility, and given what we were working with, I think that it went very well.
Yeah, Brian gave an MIT level course there, so I felt like I was really out of my element, because anytime Brian talks, it's just like.
Yeah, he has a way of making other people feel less intelligent.
But he does. He
doesn't mean to do so. He's just so sharp.
And then when he realizes he's doing that, then he has a good way of bringing it back down to, my level, kindergarten level. So.
Ain't nobody else building AKs with hardware literally on Mars.
So what about you, Jared? You got your 2 instructors' opinions there.
Yeah, we, to be very honest, when Aaron and I arrived on Friday before Kyle got there, we walked out on the range and thought, man. But, we just went to work and adapted, and we feel like we kind of maximized what we could do there. And I agree with Kyle, and Aaron and I had both talked about this on Friday too, that, if we had the time, that we could have shut the lights down and did some basic low light work. And that's always good to do, because people kind of master those skill sets static and in ideal conditions and with the lights on, and the lights go out and that changes everything. So that would have been.
You would definitely need a whole other day to work that in.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that's just because everybody was just so saturated, by the end of those 2 days, and to throw that and the conceal shooting and that kind of I think they would another day would have been perfect for that, to add all
yeah
that.
and I can't wait to hear from Jerry and Jason and
we got
Joe.
all the J's. I just noticed that. Jerry, Jason, and Joe.
Got all
Look at that.
But I really am looking forward to hearing their input, because looking back, we always go back and do our own after action and review and say, what could we have done different? And the three of us have been, even all this week, we've been thinking about it. And we're always in the business of trying to maximize what we can give out and do. And Aaron says I should actually stop and let people eat every now and then. So we've always got the throttle
Well, he eats
to the
8
floor.
times a day, you know. So.
But, you know, thinking about day one, talking about it, you think, oh, we just worked on fundamental stuff. Not that the fundamental stuff doesn't need to be visited every time, but, you know, that's why we love to hear input from anybody attending our classes, because we want to make sure we're giving the consumer the best possible product, and, you know, needs change. And,
Well, let's
and even
do
the
that
pacing
now.
of a class.
Yeah, let's do
go.
that. Let's do that now.
Aaron.
So the question, I'm going to start off with the question. It's so the build up to the class. I know that Jason and Jerry heard us talk about it, and we started back in September talking about it. October?
Yeah,
I don't
September, October, something like that.
somewhere around there. It was just kind of an idea at the time, and then it grew and grew, and we talked more and more about it. As far as the way that we kind of built it up, what were your expectations walking in, and versus what you got at the end of the 2 days? And we'll start with Jason.
Yeah, I was really excited to have so many people under one roof. We had a lot of talent there. Not only the instruction, but like they were saying, the Armors course with Brian Keeney.
And we had a lot of people that just came and were hanging out with us too, like Yeager, and we had Drew from Century Arms was there, and some other people.
And it was good just having everybody together. I had some questions talking to Andrew about Century Arms. I had some questions for that. So we talked a little bit about some of the old school AKs, some of the classic AK kits and building and stuff like that. So it was a lot of information and exchange of information going on in that class. So there was a little something for everybody besides the actual instruction on shooting the AK and the actual tactical instruction that we were getting from 212. So it was a good time for me just to be able to talk to the other lead heads, some like-minded individuals. It was just, and the after action reports that we had at the end of the day, that was a big help to me too. That's something that I haven't got in other classes. I've took several classes here and there, and that helped me a whole lot because I got to sit down, and one of the students had made the comment that amount of instruction is like drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah.
It's a lot of information coming at you at once. And at the end of the day, just to sit down for 30, 40 minutes, however long we were there, and just to recap everything that had happened was a big help to me. I got to actually sit down, take some notes down. That way I can go back to my home range and take some of the courses that we did, some of the strings of fire, and repeat that and work on that.
Some of those drills. Yeah.
Some of the drills.
Yeah. Very good. What about you, Jerry?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. Everybody thinks that when they come into any class that they've got a good grasp on the fundamentals. And you come to a class like this and you realize that your fundamentals aren't really where they need to be. And it helps to be reminded of that. And I will parrot the same thing with the after action. I've never been to a course that did that before, or where we actually sat down and then broke down what it was we were learning in that day. It's, and you all were talking how you kind of viewed that range as a downfall, but I would just say that from my perspective, in a rifle class, it's great to be able to see what the rifle can do inside of that short range zone. And because we can all practice long shots.
And I will say that they never said it was a downfall. They said it was challenging.
Yeah, it was it was something that we hadn't faced before, and I couldn't be happier with how it went. It was just, when you're used to working a 300 to 500 yard range and you walk in there and think, oh, I'm going to run 2-day rifle. Wow. But yeah, no, I that's great input, Jerry, because most people don't really concentrate on that close range work.
And we never would have guessed that you didn't have that whole thing planned out for days. There's no way we would ever
Never
figure
would have
that
known. Yeah.
Well, maybe I shouldn't have said anything. Damn it.
Kept your
He
pie
can
hole
edit
shut. Do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I got about 3 hours worth of stuff.
Okay, we'll come back to you. So let's go to
That's right.
let's go to Joe.
To be completely honest, my expectations going in was the shooting part was just going to be fun. Like I heard about the class and thought, oh, that'd be cool. But I've taken multiple locals rifle classes and training at other large and well-known places.
You can mention them. You can mention them.
Tactical response. I've taken fighting rifle twice.
I'm an alumni there too. That's fine.
Awesome. Yeah, repping the shirt. But when I heard that there was going to be the armor portion is when I signed up, because I'm a mechanic by trade and I want to know how things work. And if it breaks, I want to know how to fix it. Well, after taking that armor's course, it kind of wasn't really needed because it looks like AKs really don't break hardly. So, so my expectations for the shooting portion, like I really didn't have any. I just wanted to go have fun, and I did. But this is also the first class I've taken that, to me, was more focused on your individual skills rather than tactics or mindset. And I learned a lot about what I could do that I'd never dreamed that I could do in a short amount of time, probably because of taking some other courses. But as far as expectations going in versus what I got out of it, just far, far, far surpassed anything I would have thought. And even if I would have thought it would have just been the stuff that I've already learned, it was taught in a way that was easy to pick up, even though, like somebody said, it was like drinking from a fire hose. It was explained multiple times from multiple perspectives. If somebody didn't understand it, it was always explained to where everybody understood what was going on. And I've been to places where that was not the case. So,
right.
It blew my mind. I was very impressed and very satisfied with my purchase.
Awesome, man. It's great to hear.
Yeah.
So we'll let the instructors ask some questions now. So we'll start with Jared.
Well, it's really awesome to hear your input because that's our goal is to basically just give people, your goals are our goals. And sometimes we don't know what our goals are until we get, we start wading through the information and we get knee deep and then we realize, oh man, there's a goal that I didn't even know I had. And that's super important to us. Our only question is, what would you want what are your goals for the future? Because we want to try and help facilitate that and help bring the information to you and help in any way possible. So we want to know what you guys want because we can help bring it. We have assets. We just, want to know what the consumer wants. We'd love to do a low light class in that environment. I'd love to go back to Royal Range. In fact, I'm in the process of kind of talking back and forth with Art to do a multi-day handgun there in which we could do low light in that environment, and it would be phenomenal. So that's kind of on the horizon, but we want to know what you guys want in the future moving forward.
And let's save that one for last because let's concentrate on what they did during the class, the courses. Somebody's got some bad static going on there, Jared. You got a loose connection.
Marty, if you don't mind, I have a couple questions for the students.
Yes, please.
Well, so we'll start with Joe. We'll just get this out of the way. Joe, have you ever run the 22422 drill prior to that?
I have not, and I have never ever shot that fast ever.
Highly impressive.
That's awesome.
But Jerry, what kind of AK were you shooting?
I was running Century Arms. Or are you talking to me?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, Jerry. Yeah.
Sorry. I was running
I know what you're shooting, Jerry. So you were running Century Arms, pretty basic AK.
Yeah,
and I understand that you may have made a new purchase after that course.
Yeah, I think I did.
Okay, so
during the course, yeah.
Why why did you choose to step into an ODS? What was it about it that, especially after taking this course, that you saw beneficial over a traditional AK?
Well, for one, some past experience with that, with my gun in the heat that it produces off the barrel. You notice I had gloves on because I had to have gloves on, and one of the things for sure was the way that's designed and the way it disperses the heat, so you don't have to worry as much about that. But it's much lighter than my gun is. My gun's a pretty heavy gun. Plus, watching the way that it handles, and I know everybody has their own preferences with how they shoot their guns, but just watching all the different, how many of them were there? I think there are only 3 of us that didn't have an ODS.
17 total.
Yeah, so watching those run and seeing how much just in watching, you can see how much of a better quality gun that is. Nothing against the Century Arms, but I get that. That's it, and that's what I think I said that earlier in the class or later in the class, that I had what would be considered an entry level gun, and that's great for starting. And now that I've seen what it can do, I want to make sure that I have something that can do what it is that I want it to do.
That's awesome.
Okay.
That's well put. Yeah.
Hey, Kyle.
Okay.
Why don't you ask the same question?
Ask Aaron?
Yeah, ask Aaron what he was running.
Aaron, what were you running?
Unmute.
I am the proud owner of a Palmetto State Armory. Yeah,
I have the exact same gun that you were shooting.
It works. It works like a champ. But if you notice, for any of the drills that we did, what gun did I pick up?
ODS.
I picked up one
somebody else's.
Yeah, exactly. The PSA. Go ahead, Jared.
I'm not poking. I'm just giving him a hard time because I've been ribbing him about getting an ODS. But a couple of times I picked up that PSA. In fact, the Sunday morning when we set ourselves up on that par time back at whatever that distance was, 18, and I plopped down and ran that thing as fast as I could, and I was really impressed with even how accurate the PSA was. Yeah,
it runs pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it, all things considered. But I don't compare it to the ODS. They're in 2 different leagues in terms of accuracy. I've ran those ODSs out to 300, and I've seen the accuracy on them. I know what those guns are capable of, and I'm truly impressed. So I don't even put them in the same league. The manual of arms is the same, being the AK-47 platform. But believe me, Brian's going to get an order from me very, very soon.
Well, and remember, Aaron, he stocks Tiffany blue for you.
Oh, that's actually, I was going to custom order that Tiffany blue.
Yeah, one of our students just ordered one and wanted it in Tiffany blue. But she was a big hit there. So
she wanted it
she earned it.
Turquoise or something, and then he's like, "I got Tiffany blue."
Yeah.
She's like, "Ooh, even better." What about the Mandalorian one that was there? That was pretty badass. The one that was.
Oh, the sound
Charles?
signature was incredible. That suppressor on that thing was just, I'm sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was running the OSS suppressor on there, and that it sounded so amazing. I don't know if it was any quieter than the Sandmans that were on the line, but the tone was so much better. There was just such a soft, smooth tone to it. I really, I'm taking a different look at those now. May have been a little bit because we were indoors and some of the echo and stuff, but I was really impressed with that can that was on there.
Yeah.
Jason, we should have taken advantage of that opportunity and checked the extraction pattern on that thing to see how much less back pressure is coming out of that OSS versus a dead air.
As if you didn't have enough to do during that class.
Right.
Jason, what about you? What were you running?
I was running ODS from Brian. I was using the Sandman K on mine. One of the things I really love about that rifle is the top rail. You have a lot of real estate up front. You can
the Merc,
run your lights on the Merc. You can you don't have to use the wonky side rail like the traditional AK has. I mean, those are just kind of bulky, and it just modernizes the AK rifle. It's almost making it as AR-like as possible for the features, but having the actual reliability of the AK platform. It's a great rifle.
What happened to Aaron? Be back in a second. Okay.
They're having a bad storm right now. They're getting hammered by a bunch of hail.
Oh, okay. We're getting ready to have one here, I think, aren't we, Jerry? Next three days or so. So, Kyle and Jared, ask them some more questions. What do you want to get the info you want out of them? The feedback you're looking for.
Basically, well, I'm back to my question you wanted to save for later. I mean, what are you guys?
No, we're gonna save it for later. That's gonna be the last. That's gonna be the last question. That's the good one to end the session on. So let me ask this question. So, of the 2 days, everything that we went through there, I mean, there was a lot. Again, the water through the fire hose. It's a lot to take in. What came to mind as you were driving home, or you got home, over the last couple of days? What was like one thing is like, I wish I would have asked this. I wish I would have done this. What were those thoughts that were going through your head? And we'll start with Joe.
So the big thing that was running through my head is, how do I get faster for transitions, which may sound kind of weird to you guys. But like the
Smoking Joe,
the smoothness of the transition, the starting and the stopping and all that was the big thing that was running through my mind. And then I kicked myself in the butt because I had 2 gear questions I forgot to ask, which are, what timer do you the instructors recommend, and what magazine pouches do you guys recommend?
Well, so I've got a packed timer, and man, I can't remember the brand of the other little timer I have. I've got 2 different timers. The one I was using on the range was a packed PACT. They're like $130, $140. The other timer I have has an RF capability, and I've got they call it a big boy digital display. It's about a 17-inch digital display that the little timer will basically Bluetooth to or RF to. So you can put it down range where everybody can see it, and it'll show your splits and your total time and stuff like that. I'll bring that next time. And then mag pouches, and Kyle can add to this because he's running I think he runs a couple of little different things, and he's got a different timer. Mag pouch, the best one I've found as far as on the belt is a G-Code Scorpion. Now, I will tell you that a certain entity in Arizona, starts with an H and ends with SP. We are working hard to
Haley Strategic, you can say it.
Yeah.
You can say it. Plug them.
Man, their product development is just crazy. If you ever get a chance to get to Scottsdale and go look around HSP and see it's just incredible what they're working on. And we're working on a good AK belt mounted magazine carrier. So, but right now, Scorpion is what I prefer, but you really have to run the bungee out and get it as loose as possible. It has good retention even in that format, but going back in can be a struggle sometime. But so, all right, Kyle, back to you.
So I'm using the Pocket Pro 2 timer. I can't recommend it over any other. It's the only one that I've owned, courtesies of my wife. But as for mag pouches, I run a couple different. You didn't see my full rig when I was there. More often than not, I'm using a Blade Tech Kydex holster on the front of my body off to the right-hand side. So
do they still make that?
No, there's some of them out there floating around. They're hard to find. Outstanding product. It's a shame that they discontinued that. It's the fastest mag pouch that I've found for an AK. You don't get the drag off of the locking lug on the back that you do out of some of the other soft ones. I do run Scorpions on my left side. Great pouches, but the locking lug seems to tear them up pretty badly if you do a lot of mag changes. But the retention is good. They're a great pouch. And then I don't think any of us ran a chest rig, the instructors, while we were there, which we probably should have. I know some of the students were running them. I know you were there, Jason. I would have liked to work with you on that because we stage our mags a little bit differently than what you would with an AR, or at least I do.
That was another just time issue, man. That was something we all just would have loved to have gotten to, but time.
So Aaron, the question is, what timer were you running and your mag carrier?
Yeah, Pocket Pro 2. Out of the three top timers that I've ran, I think Pocket's my favorite. I think Kyle, you were running the same one, right? That's what you run. But,
yeah, that's what I have as well.
And then on mag pouches, Scorpions are pretty good. Like Kyle said, they do get a little tore up over time, but they last a little while unless you're running a ton of competition and just doing a ton of mag changes. So they last decent enough. The lugs on the AK mags they tend to tear a lot of things up. So
real quick, the other timer that I've got is the CED 7000, and it has the ability to again display on the exterior display downrange, so it's pretty cool. People love that.
Jerry, what's your question? Did that answer your question, Joe?
Yes, that was great. Thank you, guys.
Okay, cool. Right. Jerry,
I would say that my biggest question is, now that I'm going upwards with my AK, other than a Bakelite, what magazines tend to be the most reliable with that?
I'd love to answer that if you don't mind there, Jared.
Go.
Well, so I think everybody's going to jump at the opportunity to say Bakelite, and they are fantastic. Can't dispute that. But at this point in time, they're very expensive, and to go practice mag changes and beat those things up is very much a shame. I think that the Circle 10 Bulgarian waffle mags are awesome, but really best bang for your buck, and I've got to just throw this out there, US Palms is one of my sponsors, but truly, those magazines, bang for your buck, are really hard to beat. They're outstanding mags. The first box that I received, I took them out and beat the snot out of those things just to make sure they would work. I have yet to have one fail. And
they're
so if you're going to go out and you're going to
US
train,
Palms are
they're tanks. They're awesome mags.
Yeah, they're good mags.
They are.
But, Jerry, if you're going to put the Kirkham shelf on yours, it won't take the US Palms. You're going to have to use the Bakelights or the Magpuls or one of those other ones.
Or break out the belt sander. Yep.
But
so that's true. But if you're going to go out and practice and beat those things up, it is a shame to take $100 Bakelite and go drop that thing on the concrete 1,000 times. So really, Jerry, I'd recommend getting a couple different mags. Get you some mil spec mags that you can throw in your kit, ready to rock, and then get you some US Palms, or there are other manufacturers that are within the same price range, and I'm sure are good mags, and take those out and hammer on those things. I don't think you'll be disappointed.
Kyle, you made a video at one point, I think, where you had a fully loaded US Palm. There was snow and ice on the ground, so it was had to be in the mid-20s, and you were dropping that fully loaded US Palm mag on the concrete, trying to see if you could get it to fail and crack, and it held up. I mean, you were throwing it down, and that was pretty telling as to how tough that thing is.
Yeah, I was. I won't represent companies I don't believe in, and I want to make sure that I wasn't misguiding anybody. So I did exactly that. I took them out and I let them sit outside overnight, in freezing temperatures before throwing them on concrete. I've run them over with my truck. I actually shot one. That one didn't work when I was finished. I beat the snot out of those mags, and I'm really impressed with them. Best bang for your buck, in my opinion. But yeah, the Bakelights are fantastic if you can afford them, and the Bulgarian Circle 10s are also very good mags, but they're getting up there in price as well.
Very cool. Aaron, you got any tips for him?
On magazines, I couldn't agree with Kyle more.
I don't think it's just the magazines was your question. What? State your question again, Jerry. You're muted.
Yeah, I was talking specifically magazines, but
my bad.
Any helpful hints with outfitting the ODS is more than welcome.
The only thing we didn't get a chance to dive into a little deeper that I typically like to, we were just constrained on time, is sling setup. and that's
Yeah.
a little bit individualized. We did a crash course. I think Jared gave me 2 minutes to do just a crash course and just an overview of some concepts. But typically we'll like to talk about setup a little bit more. With the AK platform, it's not as universal with your sling mounting points. So you got lots of options and adapters and things like that. But that's one of the things that we would love to help you out with, Jerry, is just make sure that we got a sling that works for you and your body type, your positions, and your mission. So.
What I would like to see is added to your course is like the sling manipulations, because I noticed that you guys, you'll run it depending on what you're doing. You'll have your sling in different positions. You'll unclip it, you'll clip it, you throw it back over your shoulder, you tuck it back up, back under. So I think that would be a good curriculum to add to the course as well. It's just my input.
It was actually on the planning list.
3 days, man. I'm telling you, 3 days.
Oh, I
Gotta do
think
3
when
days.
we started, when we came back after lunch on Sunday, we had talked about Sunday morning driving to the range. We literally made a list of things we had hoped to cover Sunday, and then by midday we were trying to prioritize and cut things out of there that we just didn't have time to do, and that was one of them. I mean, Aaron, literally, he has a phenomenal presentation on that, and will basically cover more than you can ever absorb.
We'll have to look at doing maybe an intermediate course and then an advanced course, maybe something like that. What about you, Jason?
While we're on the subject of slings, one of the issues that I was getting into running the chest rig, I'm a little bit unique because I shoot rifle typically left-handed and I shoot pistol right-handed, so it makes things a little bit complicated.
Yeah, that's odd. You're odd.
I'm a weirdo. I'm an odd guy, but
that's exactly what I do as well.
Oh, okay, all right, awesome. Well, I'm not the only odd guy, I guess. But one of the issues that I was running into is getting tangled up in the sling. So I had to kind of slip out of the sling. Aaron was kind of assisting me with just slipping it over just my head and over my neck, so I'm not wrapped in it around my arm. And that helped to do that. It's not as comfortable when you're moving, and just the weight, I guess, of the rifle. But it was something I was able to do when I got up on the line, slip out of it, of the actual sling, and I can move a little more freely that way. So it was one of the things that kind of made things complicated. And that's another reason I was running the chest harness, is because I had my sidearm to my right side where I would have drawn my AK mag if I was running the mag pouch or something like that. It would have been on the right side too. So it makes things a little bit.
So if you're shooting your rifle left-handed and your pistol the opposite, it seems like your sling throw would go into where your gun is. If you're running your sling right.
It can, and it can get tangled sometimes in the chest rig with the sling. So Joe actually kind of helped me out a little bit with that. He had a spare sling that he was using, or wasn't using at the time. But it was a little bit slicker. It was, I think, one of the Magpul MS ones, I believe that's what it was. Wasn't it, Joe?
Correct.
So it gave me just a little bit. It was a little slicker material. It didn't catch around my shoulders much, so it would actually slide on my body a little smoother, and it helped with the transition. So I guess my question to the instructors is there something I should look into doing a little bit different with the sling setup, or would it be better for me to run a single point in that situation? Just some feedback from.
And hold on, I think Eric is with us too. Eric, are you joining us? You're muted if you are.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, we'll come to you too and ask get your question too. So go ahead and mute yourself back. Okay.
So Jason, just in terms of slings, so it's a little tricky to go in depth without some sort of demonstration or with the gear on us. But I would say you do have a unique scenario having your secondary on your right side and a chest rig. So I mentioned this very briefly in class, but single points are great for mobility, moving the rifle around and switching shoulders and things like that, but they're less stable on the fire, or keeps the firearm less stable. So if you're moving a lot or running or those types of things, and you want it to stick to your body a little bit better, it's not as advantageous. So single points are typically for what most people would consider direct action. If you know you're going to get in a scenario where you're really going to have to run that gun hard, single points are awesome. But you can do it with a 2-point as well by swimming out of it like you described. So having that 2-point set up and then just swimming out of it, like you said, a little less comfortable, but allows you to be a little more maneuverable with that with the rifle. In terms of your chest rig, that adds another layer of complexity. We have to kind of take a look at that specifically. And chest rig offer a little bit more of a standoff when you run a single point. So if you are running single point or you choose to run single point, for that maneuverability of the weapon, that's great. And you have that chest rig that pushes it out a little bit. So that you may try single point. And when we do single point, we like to have it at the back of the receiver. We don't like running single point on the back of the stock. So just some things to keep in mind, things to experiment with. Everyone's got their different preferences. I run 2 points and single point, and I do switch back and forth, and I'm very, very fluid with both types of sling positions because everyone's got some different preferences, and we could probably spend another hour talking about the pros and cons of dual versus single versus, if you are running dual, which point.
We'll get into that on the next AK corner.
Love to.
We talk about competition shooting. Jared or Kyle, do you guys want to address the sling question? Either one of you?
I don't. I think Aaron did a phenomenal job, and again, we could go on and on and on about this. What do you think, Kyle? Same
quick
thing.
question related to that while we're on Jarrett.
Yeah.
I noticed you were running a convertible. Instead of just jumping to a single point, would that be a better option? Like, hey, I know I can use a 2-point.
I like options. And if I can run that sling where I can run it in single point when I want to and convert it to 2-point, that's my ideal setup. If I pick up a gun like my ODS 1775 pistol, the way I've got it set up right now is only a 2-point. I'll just swim out of the 2-point like Jason was talking about. But if I can set my gun up in that fashion where I can convert it from a single point to a 2-point very quickly and efficiently, which takes practice, that's my ideal setup. I think we all agree as far as Kyle and Aaron and I that sorry, the stupid thing's dinging like crazy.
That's Brian trying to join us.
If you run a 2-point, learn how to run it. If you got a single point, learn how to run it. But if you're going to run a sling on a rifle, you need to know how to run both. Because what if you have to pick up a rifle that is only a 2-point setup? You've got to be able to run it. And slings, a lot of people will buy slings and just throw them on their gun and never really learn how to use it as the tool that it's intended to be. It is life support equipment. It is going to keep that rifle very close to you in any situation, and that's it. So learn how to run them both. And yes, I like convertibles.
And while we're on that, just one last thing. So just for the listeners out there, the ones we like to run are the Haley Strategic. The Haley Strategic sling, they're fantastic, 2-to-1. And then I like the Blue Force gear. It's called the 221. It's a similar design that can be convertible, and I know Magpul has one as well that works really well. So just a few options for the listeners.
We're trying to get Brian in here, so stand by. So let's go to Eric now. We got PPRN. Eric has joined us. He was in the class as well. Eric, welcome in.
Hey guys, I was just wondering. I noticed that most people was on the ejection port side of the gun. I was wondering why that was instead of on the other side.
You cut out just a little bit there.
I'm sorry, you cut out there.
Yeah, what were you asking about the ejection port side?
I was noticing most people were running the rear of their sling on the ejection port side of the gun instead of the other side of the gun, where like the rail would be, the optics rail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the reason we do that is if you were to run that as a right-handed shooter, if you were to run it, say, on the left-hand side of the weapon, when you go to throw that up, that's going to be directly beneath your cheek. Whereas if you scoot it out to the right-hand side, when you present the firearm, it naturally drapes away from your face. So if you're running a 2-point configuration specifically, that's why, myself anyway, that's why I run the rear mounted on the ejection port side of the firearm, the right-handed side.
Yeah, it keeps the sling out of the way of your shoulder, really, and out of your face as well. So you're not mounting the stock or the brace with the sling on it. It stays out of the way a little bit better. But it does come down to personal preference. I do know people that have that prefer mounting on the inside just because they feel like it feels better when it hangs on the sling. So it's a little bit of personal preference there.
That's a good question, Eric. Very good question. So Brian has
Mind if I
joined
chime
us
in for
now.
a second?
What's that?
So one of the things, not to steal limelight or anything, one of the things that I've made me switch from the left to the right side is when you do a shoulder transition, it's less likely for your sling to try and choke you.
Yep.
That's a good point too. So Brian, are you in? Are you here with us?
Yes, sir. Can you guys hear me okay?
There you are.
The man, the legend himself.
So Brian did an armor's portion to this AK concepts course. Kind of threw it in last minute. It's not something that we were planning on in the beginning, but it definitely added to the class, and it's one of those things that we would have missed had we not done it. So I think it should be like an essential part. So Brian, I've already cut in our interview that we did there. So you talked about what all you were talking about during the class already. What are some things maybe that you might have done differently if we were to do this again? What are some things maybe that you would do differently for the armor's portion of this AK concepts course?
Well, it was nice to get to do it twice because we figured some stuff out. I frankly thought that fire control group installs and bolt teardowns were going to be review for most folks, and that we would that people would be able to help each other through it, and that turned out to be a really bad assumption. And so, which is no knock on anybody except me. So yeah, in the second run on fire control group, I ended up having people figure out how the fire control group worked on their own. And so in the second run of students through the fire control group, instead of having them tear down and rebuild, I had them figure out how the mechanism worked. Because if you understand the how and the why, everything else becomes a lot easier. And that ended up being really cool to see. I know that there are vast differences in mechanical ability and, intuiting how machines work. And so having people figure that out and help each other in just talking about things like that, the hammer coil, the hammer spring is also the trigger spring, and have people understand those linkages and then how the safety actually engages. For sure, I would start with that. I think a little bit of preparatory materials for folks would be good for next time, so that they've seen the material once by the time they get there. And I think that's what we'll do differently. And but I think that those two skills are absolutely critical. So yeah, I think it's just I'm going to continue to chew on it, but meeting people where they're at, I think, would be the good bumper sticker for that.
Yeah. So Jared, this is the first time you've added something like this to one of your training courses. What, especially for like a beginner's type, AK course, how essential do you think the part that Brian brought to this would be going forward?
Well, when you understand how your tool works inside and out, it makes you a lot more confident when something goes wrong with it. Not that things go wrong with the AK very often. But like I'll move over to another platform. In the AR platform, when we talk malfunctions, we literally take the bolt out of the gun and we go over how the hammer interacts with the bolt carrier group and the firing pin, and how the ejector and the extractor work to move the spent cartridge out. And it's amazing, guys that have been shooting those rifles for years don't realize the nuances and the mechanics of that. And it allows them to better understand how to diagnose and clear those malfunctions when they occur. So I think it's absolutely phenomenal to even just start a rifle class with that armor's block, and especially the AK, because in our community, the AK, well, I mean, if you're an AK fan, you're an AK fan. The majority of the firearms industry here in the U.S., it's foreign to them, and we're trying to change that because it's such a phenomenal platform. And again, if we had 3 or 4 days, we could just make this that much better. So I can promise you we're all going to be putting our heads together to figure out the best format in which to present all of this to students, the consumers, the shooters, the lead heads, the community out there, so that it's digestible and efficient and effective. And that's what we're going to do moving forward.
But for a first run, we did pretty damn good, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah. And
Right.
again, it just made our range work go so much better because we were able to split the class in half and just keep rocking, and nobody was standing around waiting, and it was just work. And I think everybody appreciated that. So Brian, hats off to you. You made it rock.
Well, I had a blast, and it was that's the first time I've taught AK stuff to a group like that. I've taught other things in the past, but the students were really all about it, and enthusiasm grew over the time as opposed to shrinking, and so that was really heartening as well. So big thank you to all the students for helping me to help them.
I said it in class, and I really meant it. I mean, we are amongst a living legend. Brian is going to go down in history as one of the most innovative, especially in the AK rifle platform. So it's going to be those stories that you tell your grandkids about that you got to meet Brian Keeney. And I'm being serious, dude. I'm not fucking around. I'm being serious. So let's go
Thank
around.
you. That's kind of you to say.
Let's go around and let's get some of the students' questions for you, Brian. We'll start with Jason.
My question is, if there's one thing that will break or might possibly break or cause an issue on an AK, what's the most likely thing that you think might cause an issue with the AK platform in general?
I think the operator's far more likely to break than the gun, in all seriousness. If we're taking ammo out of the equation, the single most common failure mode, and for the AK anyway, is foreign matter getting into the gun. And so while there are, and that's my off-the-cuff response, I don't have a statistical one for you, but a lot of the training I've done has been in mud and sand, and while the AK does a very admirable job of clearing foreign matter, if you get a rock in your chamber, that gun will go down. And so other people's brass getting into your action, that's a real thing. Any kind of debris, if you plug the barrel, if you go down hard, that's a real thing.
Can I elaborate a little?
What's that? Sorry.
Can I chime in real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
And it's real quick. So the biggest thing that we saw cause malfunctions this weekend was magazines. Magazines where the follower was not doing its job and tilting and binding up. The second thing in realistic application of out in the environment is people running left side of barriers or hard angles or vehicles, and the damn charging handle reciprocating and hitting an exogenous object and causing a stoppage or short cycling and causing a malfunction.
Yeah, that makes great sense, and training for that is a good thing. There are a lot of ways to induce those. They're not for the faint of heart, but at tactical response, for example, they'll take I'm not going to say how they do it. It might be there. There are ways of inducing those kinds of malfunctions and getting a gun good and jammed up, and then learning how to clear it is a deep skill, and one worth at least investigating enough so that if you run across it, you'll be able to deal with it. I'm sure a lot of other schools handle that too. But yeah, that left side charging handle, particularly if you are changing mags or running left-handed. And in glorious communist Russia, there are no left-handed people, but all of the Russians that I've trained with, which isn't many, run their left side as well as their right, I would say. And so they do a very good job of knowing how to run the gun left-handed. That's also a good skill if you become injured. That's one of the most common places to be injured is in your hands. As far as I can tell, for two reasons. They're in front of your center of mass, and also they're holding the thing that the bad guy is the most scared of, so they key in on it. And what we see in everything from mountain biking to shooting is what you focus on is what you tend to hit. And so especially in force-on-force classes, your hands get beat up the first out of anything. And so knowing how to run that gun one-handed, left-handed is a big deal.
Was that Jason's
But in
question?
terms of like carrying spare parts, the only thing I'd carry is lube and a punch. You know, that's
I had to do it.
Sources of lube. You know any good sources of lube out there, Brian?
You know, we sell a lube system called Occam Lube, occamlube.com. It is more it's the dispenser. We try not to make it out like we sell snake oil. The black lube that we sell is blows the doors off a lot of brands. But bacon grease, 10W30, just
bacon
get them wet,
grease?
keep them wet. Well, you know,
I'm all about that, but I don't want to waste it on my gun. I want to use that.
Well, you know,
My
GIs,
recipes.
I think it was either World War I or World War II, had like different uses for spam.
Yeah,
And
that was one of them, wasn't it?
they were, yep, and they were waterproof in their boots. They were oiling their guns. And so I really mean it. Anything that, you know, that is one of the beauties of that gun is it is not picky. I'm not
that
saying
bacon
that's the
grease
best
smells
fit.
good when you're shooting it on that AK.
Heck, you know, I might start to do that at events.
Just because it smells good.
I'm dead serious.
I mean, that's going to
a
bring
great
people
idea.
over to your booth. They start smelling that bacon cooking. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
That's
with it.
Genius. I love that. I'm going to have to start trying that. So let's go to our next question. Let's go with Joe. Joe, what's your...
Well, I just want to chime in on that last thing there.
Okay.
Like we just asked a firearms manufacturer what causes malfunctions, and part of that response involved what they personally saw in training. So for anybody that's listening, if who you're buying a gun from doesn't involve that part, that part of that answer to that question, you bought it from the wrong person.
Good point.
So,
Thank you.
I don't know that I have a question really.
Nothing for the Pythagorean theory or any of that.
And no, I felt really stupid in class when I didn't really pick up on that because I've always been kind of a mathematician. Kind of a mathematician, obviously, but yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't.
Well, you think about it. We'll go to Jerry. Jerry, what do you got?
Hey, mine's really, really simple. The stuff that you showed us in class, the training that you showed us in class for breaking down, do you have videos of that available?
I just shot them this weekend, and we will be releasing them as part of our online manual very soon. And so, yeah, absolutely. We were talking about that in class, and that this is the kind of thing to do 5 times with a computer in front of you and slowing it down. And yeah, thanks to the guys at Tactical Response and Nate Garrison for doing the filming and letting us use their studio for that.
Nice.
We shot it in 4K, and we'll be downsampling it for 1080p. But the point of that was that it's going to allow us to select any quarter, zoom in by 4x and get a really high-res
clear
view
picture
of what's going on.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's gonna be awesome. Or Jerry, you can just come over to my house and I'll run you through it.
Doing that with a buddy is actually kind of a really good idea. And again, make sure your gun's clear. But walk through it, and study groups are a real thing. So you'll get part of it, and your buddy won't, and vice versa.
Brian, do you have any questions for the students?
What would, if they were pondering something that they didn't understand and still don't understand, I'd love to know what it is. And if there is a way to present the information that I presented a better way, I'd like to hear what that is.
And who wants to go first? Chime in. Don't go all at once. And you, the instructors also, Kyle, Jared, Aaron will be back, I guess.
Brian, my only suggestion would be to bring some toilet paper with you next time we're talking about Pythagorean Theorem. If you really want to drive that point home.
Oh, I understand what he's saying. I didn't get it for a while. Yeah, the place where everybody, especially if you hate math, Google the Pythagorean Theorem, look at the Wikipedia article. There's a graphical proof of the Pythagorean Theorem that involves no equations. And for those of you with kids out there, especially, I have never seen this in the institutional educational system, for which I have very little love.
So you're not lemon partying this here, right?
No, I'm not. This
Okay.
one's clean.
Okay.
But where I saw it was in the bathroom of the science library at the hippie university I went to. Somebody had reproduced it in permanent black marker on the wall tiles. And I didn't believe it when I first saw it. And I was on the throne there doing my calling, and looked over at it and went, son of a gun, and made a little measuring tape, because they used the small, maybe 1.5 inch or 2 inch diameter tiles as tick marks. And I went and measured myself off some toilet paper and saw very clearly that the proof had to be true, and you could prove it with toilet paper. And if you didn't even really need to do that, but it worked.
More bathroom party tricks from Brian.
There you go.
That's funny. Very good. What about you, Kyle? You got anything for Brian?
Oh, I got a whole list for Brian. We'll get into that at a later date. But
Okay.
no, I did want to thank him, for building all of us. I think everybody on here will soon, with you, Jerry, will soon own one of his ODSs. And I can tell you personally, as an AK guy, I don't know or have never seen anybody put the attention to detail into that platform as Brian Keeney has. And I think Aaron chimed out there for a brief minute, but he got a brief private armorer's course. We got back to the house that night, and Brian went quite into depth about rivets and trunnions and a bunch of other stuff I'm not sure he touched on during class. And he cares. He genuinely cares about the products he's building and what the intended purpose for those is. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank him for putting that attention to detail into something that is typically considered to be a very rudimentary and rough platform, right? It's not nearly as refined as an AR, but Brian's are. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And there's a lot of other good builders in the U.S. who are making real art. And I do it a particular way that's my way, but there's a whole bunch of other guys that are doing it other ways that are gorgeous. So at the risk of making it sound self-effacing, I really appreciate it. And lots of good people who are doing lots of good stuff right now.
Eric, did you have any questions? I forgot you're on here. Sorry, buddy.
No, I didn't really have any questions, but I just really impressed with Brian's guns. I haven't seen many AKs brought up to that level before.
You're breaking up, buddy.
Okay, I was just saying that I was impressed with Brian's guns, the attention to detail, I haven't seen that on any AKs before. I was wondering how well his rail system bolts on to, say, like my gun, like a Palmetto State Armory.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. If you go to occamdefense.com/install, INSTALL, you'll be taken to a whole series of videos. The one in particular that I would point you to is the video also on YouTube called, but it's the top one on that page there, Will the Merc Fit My Gun? And takes you through a process with a digital caliper from Harbor Freight where you can check really quickly to know whether your gun's a good candidate or not for a Merc install.
Yeah, Brian, I went to that website. It looks like YouTube has one of your videos age restricted. What's going on with that?
It's the lemon party
yeah,
one, probably.
Right. Well, yeah, I wasn't aware of that, but I've started uploading videos. You know, it asked me the question, is this okay for kids? And while I think they are, I think they would disagree with me. So, yeah, I mark them as not for kids.
They do that to me, too, and I don't even do video. It's just audio. Yeah,
Hey, Brian, are those on Full 30 yet?
Actually, Nate is downloading all of our YouTube videos right now and uploading, like as we speak right now, and working on uploading them to Full 30.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, we're very much looking forward to getting going on that platform and away from people that hate us. And yeah, I'm trying to divest as much as possible from working with people that think I'm morally reprehensible.
Is Parler back up, Brian?
Not on my app. I heard it was up in some limited capacity, but
just as a landing page.
Oh, okay. Got it.
All right, let's move on. So let's do a wrap up question here, Jared. So ask your question now. You've been dying to ask the whole time here.
Basically, what are you guys looking for personally in pursuant of your training in the future? Jerry, you're first.
I would like to see, now that we've had the close quarters, so to speak, I would like to see, starting to stretch that out a little more. From what it sounds like, what you normally teach in this class, and I keeping the same format. I mean, you talked about it, that you don't know what you don't know, and that's the whole thing. I thought that I was fairly proficient until I sat through the first 15 minutes of your class. So that's, I would like to see more of the same, but maybe outside. You were talking low light. That was the first thing that came to my mind, was low light, because that's when we will need it the most, in my opinion, is low light. When somebody's breaking into our house, or when, at night, when somebody's creeping around the house, whatever. And those are the things that we really need. And when I say we, I mean I really need help with the most.
Yeah, half of our life is spent in the dark. We just sleep 6 or 8 hours of it, so we neglect that, and that's a big deal. So hopefully we can bring that to you.
And it's something like 80% of self-defense encounters are at night. So it's one of these. There's a term or a field of study, Bayesian analysis, where you take the probability of an event occurring and multiply that times the severity of if it occurs, as a way of scoring what you should focus on. And so, yeah, I applaud you for understanding that probability is very high and severity is even higher. So, yep, you're on the right path.
It's basic.
So the follow-up question then is, when will you be bringing that to us?
We're working on that right now.
It's in the works.
Communicating with.
It's in the mail. It's coming. It's coming.
It's either. I mean, we're working on scheduling VA training in Winchester, Virginia, in the next few months, and also talking about coming back to Royal Range. But man,
somewhere else here in the area.
Yeah.
An outdoor range. So.
Yep. We're on it, man.
Jason.
Oh, Joe or Jason?
Jason.
Yes. Jerry kind of hit on my question was the low light. That's something I would like to work on too. Low light and shooting from cover. Those are two things that, like Brian said, is very statistically probable. And that's something that we can't really, I have a home range. Something I can't really train is they won't allow shooting after dark. And it becomes violation of laws in some places after dark. And so it's something that you can't really get that training on a lot of ranges without special
It's
classes.
something you got to go look for. Yeah, definitely.
Right. You got to look for it.
Yeah. Joe?
Well, if you guys are willing, I mean, we'd be closer to you, Jason, than probably anybody. But if you guys are willing to travel, we have phenomenal locations here in Texas. We've got a phenomenal location in Virginia. So you just got to be willing to get out and cover a few miles. But we can certainly bring that to you. So just keep an eye on the schedule. Joe?
I like the idea of low light. I like the idea of cover concealment. I personally, I like, maybe I'm a niche because my girlfriend's a firearms instructor, so I live and I'm in love with a warrior. So team tactics, specifically two-person team tactics, is a thing that I would love to dive into. And low light team tactics would be even better.
You can do it. Awesome.
And then, I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. Everybody got me. My original thing was going to say actually learning to shoot the AK at distance, because I've never shot past 100 yards with one.
We're on it, man. We're working on it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll bring it. We'll be bringing it to you in 21. I promise.
All right. So unless you instructors have any more questions, Brian, do you have any more questions? Comments?
No, I think we're good. It was a great event. Hope to do more.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. It was a great event, and if you missed it, as Jared said, there's some other opportunities coming up. We're working on some here. There's something in Virginia coming up, and he does more than AK. There's AR, pistol, so all the major weapon platforms they can do it. This was just a specific AK class, just kind of celebrating the AK Corner, talking about AK Corner going into our third season. Thought it would be a good opportunity to bring some of you lead heads together with some of the premier trainers here with 212, and then bringing the big brain on Brian into it just really threw it over the top. And we had great giveaways. We ran some competitions, as you heard there. Of course, Joe didn't give anybody else an opportunity. I think we're going to have to do more. We're going to do some accuracy next time versus doing all speed.
We're going to make you run a 22422 at 100 yards on steel.
Hey, I will say, I wanted to comment on this earlier, the fast, careful, precise. I firmly, having not done it, I firmly believe that doing that drill with the precise part at 100 probably would have been easier than the way we did it.
Yeah,
I would agree, because it's almost point of impact. Yeah, but don't laugh at the 100-yard 22422. We're going to do it. Promise.
I would love to do that.
No. We need to reach out to 101. We have to break his 100-yard mark.
There you go.
That's right. We'll do it at 2.
A big thanks to Royal Range, Art, and the gang there at Royal Range USA for accommodating us. They were first rate in making sure that we had everything that we needed to pull this off and make it successful.
And I want to reinforce that every single time any one of us walked by a Royal Range employee, they stopped and said, "Are you guys good? Can we do anything for you? Let us know if you need anything." It's just the people made that experience, so it was great. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, if you get an opportunity, come to Nashville, go check out Royal Range USA. Awesome group of people there, and they have all kinds of other training courses too. They even do like jiu-jitsu and things like that there. It's pretty cool. I think Aaron wants to come back and do their shoot house.
I just want to run through it, man. It looked pretty cool, and they had a pretty cool setup. Anytime I can get my hands on a shoot house, man, I love doing it.
Hell yeah, we can make that happen next time. And then of course Danny over at Dip, he changed it. It's not Dipstick Hydrographics anymore. It's Dipstick Coatings, and they've branched out and they're doing all kinds of promotional materials with T-shirts and pretty much anything that you can think of. And they did the shirts for us for this AK Corner, AK Concepts class that we did, and they turned out phenomenal. All the students got shirts. We did a big group picture with everybody wearing their shirts. So big thanks to Danny over at Dipstick Coatings. That's dip123.com. If you need custom shirts or any kind of promotional items, you can check out Danny there, and they'll take care of you. Make sure you let them know that you're a lead head. Seal 1, the Clean Lube Protect. Great product. I think you guys, have you received your Seal 1 yet, Jared and Brian? You haven't?
Negative.
Okay, I just got mine like 2 days ago, my big package. So you guys should be getting that. You're going to try it out. I've used it in the past. It's a really good product. It's all eco-friendly based. It's all green type stuff. So check them out, Seal 1. Use the code LEADHEAD, and you're going to get 25% off. And then Mission First Tactical provided some awesome trays that didn't show up in time for all the students for the class. We've got our tactical dump trays with the AK Concepts. So everybody who was on the show today is going to get one of these. So all the J's, the Joes and the Jerrys and the Jasons and the Erics. But we're going to send one to all the students, right? I sent those out today, Jared, so you'll get those to send out. Aaron and Kyle, you're going to get one too. Brian, I sent you one. You're going to get one. Along with
like Aaron and Kyle. So
along with your toothbrush, Brian.
Eric with a J.
I haven't brushed my teeth in a week now since I left mine at your place. So, yeah, the wife is starting to complain a little bit, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a nice little Sonic, one of those electronic ones. I thought about keeping that, but I was like, he probably needs that. Bless his heart.
Yep. Well, thank you.
Thinking of your wife on that one.
Yeah.
But go check out Mission First Tactical. Use the code LEADHEAD there. You're going to get 20% off anything that they have there. They've got the butt stocks, hand guards, muzzle devices, the tactical wallets, and then, of course, the Talking Lead logo dump trays that you're gonna wish you had. But that's the kind of stuff that we do at our courses. I mean, we take care of our students. We go that little extra mile when you do something that's associated with Talking Lead. And we enjoy doing it. And thanks to all the sponsors that made that possible. And go show them some love. So, guys, that's all I've got for the moment. Jared, give 212 Training Group's website, social medias, next classes coming up.
Yeah, you can find us at 212traininggroup.com or 212firearmstraining.com. Both of those will take you to the same place. We're 212 Training Group on Facebook and Instagram. And we're working hard on the 2021 calendar to fill that thing out and build in some more dates. We just put a handgun class here locally on schedule. I'm also having to work around the Haley Strategic Partners training dates because also part of that organization. And if you want to look at opportunities to train with them in your area, man, we're training from Bakersfield, California to New Hampshire at the SIG Academy here in 2021. So there's a lot of different things to choose from. And we would love to see you show up at any of those trainings. So let us know. You can email me at jared@212firearmstraining.com. My phone number, my contact number is on the website also. So just reach out to us, and we'd love to help you, man. Thank you guys so much for coming and supporting us in Nashville. And thanks to Brian and Aaron and Kyle for coming. And you too, Marty, you are a huge part of this, and I can't thank you enough, man. It's just been wonderful to be a part of it.
Thank you too, brother. It was awesome. I appreciate everything that you did as well, making this happen for the lead heads and bringing in the quality trainers that you've got there with Aaron and Kyle. Aaron, where can they follow you on the social medias?
So just on Instagram, it's Aaron K888. It's just my personal one. It's pretty much firearms though. So I'm part of 212. So just follow me on there if they want to, and
Okay.
see all the gun stuff I post.
Kyle's new to social medias. He got forced to make an Instagram page.
Yeah, I can thank Brian for that. Yeah, they can follow me at KMO101. So that's K_MO101 at Instagram.
There you go. And then, of course, Occam Defense Solutions. He gave some pretty sweet prizes out to our students as well while he was there. So Occam Defense Solutions, sponsors of the AK Corner, which we got coming up in a few days. We're going to have to record that, Brian. We're going to be talking competition shooting.
Yeah, a growing thing in the AK space. It's really fun to see how fast you can push this platform.
Yeah, we may have to get Joe on there. We're going to get him involved with competition shooting, looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, OccamDefenseSolutions.com.
And, OccamDefense.com, Occam Defense Solutions on the gram. And that's pretty much where I hang these days. We simulpost to Facebook, but, it's not a place where I answer comments and stuff. But comment section Instagram is a great way to talk to me. And then we also have a YouTube channel. We will have our full 30 account running in a couple days here. And of course, you can email us if you would like to buy a gun. We don't have orders kind of up on the website very often. But if you want to email us, that's great.
Make sure you let them know you're a lead head. They'll give you a little extra love, a little extra something in there.
Yep, we do our best.
And a big thanks again to all the sponsors that made the AK Concepts class happen. If you want to do one in your area of the U.S., shoot me an email, talkinglead. Kyle's raising his hand. talkinglead@gmail.com, and we'll talk about options and how we can maybe make that happen. I don't think you'd be sorry, definitely. But we'll try to make that happen. Give me an email, talkinglead@gmail.com. If you got suggestions for guests or topics that you want us to cover on the show, talkinglead@gmail.com. Don't shoot me. A lot of you shoot me through the website. Don't try to contact me through the website because I rarely check those and they don't get forwarded to my main email address. I went in there the other day and had like 4 or 5 companies trying to get in touch with me about products and stuff like that. talkinglead@gmail.com is the best way to get in touch with us. So that does it, guys, for another episode of the Talking Lead podcast. Joe, Jerry, Jason, Eric, I really appreciate you guys. Appreciate all the support that you've given us throughout the years. And if you guys have more suggestions, if something else comes to mind, you've got everybody's contact info. Get in touch with them. Ask them questions. Let them know. And then the other people, if you're listening, other students, same thing. talkinglead@gmail.com. I'm sure you got Jared's contact info. But you're going to be getting one of these dump trays too, so be looking for that soon. They're pretty cool.
Yep.
They're pretty sweet.
I'm out.
Pretty sweet stuff. All right, guys, until the next episode, as always, keep your loved ones close.
And your firearms closer.
And your firearms closer.
Your firearms closer.
There you go. That's perfect.
Nice. That was impressive. I'm wearing headphones, and my girlfriend heard that across the room.
Nice.